This is our last week of our theme of celebrating the divine truth. And this is the truth. You're already magic. You're already using magic. You do it every day. We just don't necessarily call it that because we're supposed to be adulting right now. Yes? So let me just remind you that the kids tend to have more fun than us. Kids smile a lot more than us and they giggle. So I think that as adults, we should make the executive decision to stop being adults and go back to having fun. Anyone else with me? I'm willing to just do it until you're ready to join me. So here's the thing. My mom had magic lipstick. And when I was a kid, every time she would put the lipstick on, it would make her smile. It never failed. And some of you already know this about my mom, but she was creative that way. Now, as an adult, I kind of see through it. But as a child, this was part of what brought magic into my life. It was that feeling of coming down the stairs on Christmas morning and Santa had been there and the tree was lit. And I know it wasn't lit overnight, but he had lit the tree in the morning and there were all of these presents and nobody knew where they came from. So they all said Santa or Mrs. Claus. And so we got them from them. And it was awesome that somebody had been watching us and knew how good we were. That magical feeling, that sense of the lights, the pretty lights that were shining just for us. That is what it should feel like when you pray. That is the same feeling that I get when I sit down with the God of my understanding and celebrate my own divine truth. Now, one of my favorite sci-fi authors, because for those of you who don't know me, I am a total geek, and I'm not sorry, because the geek shall inherit the earth. Arthur C. Clarke, however, wrote, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So here in Science of Mind, here in our philosophy, we have a technology. There's a logical reason to it. We run the experiment on it, each and every one of us. That's part of our job, is to question it and see how we can make it work better and make sure that it's all peer reviewed. Part of our job as religious scientists is to use the technology that we have. And to the rest of the world, it might look like what other people would call a miracle. It might look like something happened. Something strange happened. That person who's been practicing Science of Mind has access to more good than I do. The beautiful, wonderful truth of it is that they have, all of us have the exact same access to good, to God, to joy, to power and peace, to the same magic that any one of us can use. Now, we all know that when we smile, there are all sorts of happy hormones, including dopamine, endorphins, and serotonin, also known as neurotransmitters, go into our bloodstream, help us relax, help us actually can lower heart rate and blood pressure. And that's good. That is a way of looking at it. But I would suggest to you, and I would ask you to practice this week, looking at it as the magical truth of your own being. It's all well and good to be able to explain using neuroscience, and that's great. It looks good on your resume. And how much more fun is it to simply use magic? Is it more fun to smile and see if you can feel all of that lovely dopamine, or to have magic lipstick? Guys, I'm talking to you too. You can use chapstick if you're not comfortable with color. Those things that we do that might look like miracles to others, but are us just using the laws of physics that we understand, you know, there's just a power to it. I'd like you to imagine for a moment just how magical penicillin would look like in 1918, when so many people were dying of a disease we could take care of in a week here. Imagine being in the American Revolution and whipping out your cell phone to communicate with troops, or use your GPS to know where you are, or heck, even use it as a flashlight. Can you imagine what that would look like, and just how much George Washington would like you in that moment? It's actually a whole sci-fi genre, and if you like that idea, go read Harry Turtledove. But if you like that kind of thinking, where the what if and the I have this power and I can use it, then Science of Mind is definitely for you. And there are two things you gotta know. One of them is this whole thing about magic. You don't have to create it. You don't have to make it. You already have it. You are it. This is how we pray differently. What we do is acknowledge the presence of God everywhere, every when, all the time. That it is in every single cell of our bodies, that it is here, whether it's Christmas or not, or Kwanzaa, or Arbor Day. You can use it all year long. These laws, these natural laws, these laws of physics as we understand them, work for everybody. We don't have, there is no trademark on truth. There's absolutely no way of owning or claiming the first to be discovered divine truth. Everybody's been using it for a very long time. What we choose to do is use it consciously, so that when we work with this thing we're going to call magic today, and honestly, I don't have any skin in the game of what you call it. You can call it God, you can call it goddess, you can call it the divine light, the divine truth, the force. Ernest Holmes said, if it helps you, just call it potato. Go get a Mr. Potato Head doll. Yes, I've had people do that. And talk to that and make it your friend. Imagine it as your best friend, the genie from Aladdin. You've never had a friend like this. This is the magical being that has been living within you all along, that has all of the power, that knows everything about you and likes you. Not just loves you in an impersonal sense, but actually likes you. Would be totally happy to spend Christmas with you and your family. Is part of you and your family. This is where the magic comes from. This is the emotion part of it. Here's the second thing you need to know. You're already using it. This magic thing, there is when we quote our, for the Science of Mind candle, it says that, which is the philosophy of life, which teaches there is a power for good in the universe, and we can use it. We can use it is not exactly true. We have to use it. If you are breathing, you are using it. If you are a sentient being, it is thinking through you. You can't help but use it. And so in this moment, what I'd like you to remember is that it can use you too. Those higher thoughts, those better thoughts, that healing that happens in each of us as we get deeper and deeper into this stuff, this is actually spirit at work on earth using our hands and our eyes and our voices. And that is exactly how it's supposed to be. You know, once upon a time, Christmas was outlawed in Massachusetts. The Puritans did not like Christmas, and I always thought that was a little rude. I always thought Christmas was kind of grand. Until I got a little more information. Merry Christmas meant go get drunk. And so for a long time, you would have these street gangs who would use Christmas to get plastered, break into people's homes, and demand food and drink. That was how Christmas got celebrated. And I mean, they had to hire extra troops and bring them in to kind of keep the peace. You can imagine them in riot gear, because these Christmas revelers were all just out there acting the fool. In the 19th century, so the 1800s, a group of people got together and started using an advertising gimmick, but for the good, saying we should be using Christmas as a time to give to one another. Instead of taking, we choose to give. And that's where the gift giving thing got big. Now, people complained about it. People complained it was too commercial immediately. Everybody thought it was awful, except the people who no longer had drunk people breaking into their homes, the people who no longer had to protect the streets and anyone else who was foolish enough to go into them. This is the work of spirit. And in Matthew 18:3 of the Christian scriptures, it says, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter into the kingdom of heaven." Little children believe in things like magic lipstick. Little children have never been told, don't go out on Christmas Day, get drunk, and break into people's houses. Little children don't need to be told that. Little children simply allow the magic to happen and roll with it and know how to play in such a way that they join in with the magic. And so this week, I'm going to ask you to run the same experiment. I want you to go be childish, or childlike at least. One of the games we play when I teach a class is that you choose an object, and it doesn't matter whether it's an elephant or a feather or a butterfly. It doesn't matter. Just choose something, or maybe a particular color, and tell your higher power, God, goddess, whatever, Mr. Potato Head, that if it is paying attention, you want to see a lot of that this week. I have had people actually create elephants, and now I can't stop seeing them everywhere. There is nothing that is stepping between you and seeing the evidence of all of this magic that we call God all around you. And the more you practice seeing it, the more you will see it. So choose something right now. Choose green plants or red flowers. It doesn't matter. Choose cash. That one's kind of fun. Your job is to pay attention this week and see how often you see it. And if you get towards the end of the week and you haven't seen it yet, double dog dare God to make it show up for you. Because that's the fun of making magic. That's the fun part of being in the light of truth and living the light of truth and being a religious scientist. This is who we are and this is what we do. And one of the adult ways of doing it is through prayer. And so I'm going to go to prayer now. I close my eyes so I don't get distracted by the rest of the world. If that works for you, great. If not, don't worry about it. Do what works for you. And so I go within, into this heart space, into this space where I am one with the divine, where I feel the love and the power and the peace that I call God. This being that is so pure and perfect life, such pure and perfect love and light, that there is no room for anything else. And as a matter of fact, there is never anything outside of God. God is infinite. Where is the other thing going to go? In this moment, I remember with every cell of me that there is no second power, no devil, nothing out to get us, no trickster God. There is just the God of love. There is just the God that is the best friend any of us have ever had. And it is this God that is living in, through, and as all of us in this moment. It is God that is all around us in the world, and there is evidence everywhere. And so I celebrate the presence of God. I love into that greater love, and I allow it to bubble up within me and overflow. Out of the overflow, I can share with others. And so I rest in spirit, which is responsible for being in, through, as, and for all of us. And I rest in the spirit of love and the spirit of life, knowing that there is nothing else in my world to meet, nothing to do, certainly nothing to fear. Resting in that with a grateful heart, I just release this word into the law. Let spirit go to work on it and take my hands off of it and get out of the way. I let it be, and so it is.